Right now at 6, Pitt State introduces their new president during an on-campus event.
And we've got some clouds out there, courtesy storms to our west, to our north. No big storms for us, but maybe a stray storm or two later today. Look at your forecast coming up.
Plus, the Gordon Parks Museum in Fort Scott celebrates a major milestone with a new documentary and book series honoring the legendary photographer.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Well, good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6 a.m. I'm Elise Noe.
I'm Chris Warner. It is now Tuesday. It's June the 24th, and we are almost at the end of the month, and I feel like it just started sometimes.
I was just thinking the exact same thing.
We hope that this year feels like it wasn't that long ago either. We were hoping this year was going to go a little slower, but it's still speeding on by. We are almost to July, almost to the 4th of July holiday. And summer has officially arrived, which means for kids, school is right around the corner again.
It never stops.
It does. It's a never-ending cycle, guys. And our heat, now that we're into summertime, also a never-ending cycle. Another hot one for us today. Let's start with that look outside downtown Pittsburgh. We got the clouds. So here's what we've got. We've got storms to our west of Wichita, actually, and they're lifting off to the northeast, so they're not going to impact us. And then there's those storms. They stretch up to the northeast, and on the other side of them, the clouds on the other side of this whole thing are moving south, and so that's why we've got these clouds that are coming off storms to the north that are being pushed south. But it does lead to a pretty decent looking sunrise this morning. MoDOT camera 20th and range line looking pretty good as well as we get this Tuesday underway. Future track looks pretty decent too. We're going to have those mostly clear to partly cloudy skies across the region. And then between 2 and 6, we'll have a window for an isolated pop-up storm or two, and then they will fizzle out. Now, a reminder on the pop-up storms when it comes to the future track, there's not a specific event triggering them. So it's showing better chances to the east. That does not mean, though, that one outside of that range is not possible. It's just they're triggered by the heating of the day and some of the instability that builds up. So they really could be anywhere, but Future Track believes slightly better chances east of I-49. So it's one of those things, again, we'll just have to kind of see how exactly it pans out for us. All right, temperatures right now, still, that's where our problem has been. Our daytime highs a little above normal. It's our overnight lows that have been anywhere from 5, 10, 12 degrees above normal. 75 in Joplin right now, 73 in Pittsburgh. Average low, by the way, about 67. We've got temperatures, they've come back a bit. Monette, Cassville down to 72. We do have some low to mid 70s, another 72 there in Sedan, but we also still have some mid 70s hanging on as well this morning. Back in the low 80s by 9, clear skies, partly cloudy as we head into the afternoon, upper 80s by noon. Our highs today, once again, the low 90s, those pop-up storm chances, and south winds occasionally gusting upwards of 20. Pop-up storm chances, stick with us for a little while. We'll take a look at that and our upcoming weekend forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise.
All right, we'll see you soon, Chris. Well, a morning crash in Crawford County claims the life of a Girard man. It happened just after 7 yesterday morning at the intersection of Highway US 69 and 160 on the north edge of Frontenac. Authorities say an eastbound pickup truck ran a red light and struck a car that was traveling south. The person in that car, 21-year-old Matthew Jeffrey Westhoff Strode, died at the scene. The 16-year-old boy who drove the pickup had no apparent injuries. Well, a former school counselor in Neosho pleads guilty to a child sex crime. Yesterday, Jacob Lee Oakes changed his plea to guilty in the second-degree statutory rape case. The Newton County prosecutor says Oakes admitted to having sexual intercourse with a minor under the age of 17. The relationship started in 2021 and continued through at least one incident last year. Oakes was put on leave from the Neosho School District after the investigation began. He's scheduled to be sentenced on August 25th. And to be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, you can download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. The new Pittsburgh State University president shares his vision to tackle enrollment challenges and support both students and the community. Dr. Thomas Newsom discussed some of his philosophies and his priorities during a public introduction to the campus and community yesterday afternoon. Pitt State's newest president said the university will face enrollment challenges as high school graduation numbers decline and the economy evolves in the years ahead. He said PSU needs to be more flexible and more understanding of the needs of students and local communities.
We need to be more understanding of what students' needs are, what our workforce needs are in our local communities. And then as a university, we need to build a culture of enrollment. And we need to build a culture where everyone on our campus understands the importance of enrollment, the importance of how enrollment drives capacity and resources. And then you have to be strategic.
Newsom, who is currently the president of Southeastern Oklahoma State University, was named as the new Pitt State president last week. An award-winning documentary film crew is interviewing Fort Scott residents. The crew is in town for the 75th celebration of Gordon Parks' unpublished Life magazine piece titled Back to Fort Scott. Although it didn't appear in the magazine at the time, the piece came to light in 2015. Now the film crew is talking with relatives of Fort Scott residents who were featured in Gordon Parks' original piece. The crew will highlight the voices and lives to capture the spirit of Fort Scott.
Gordon was always about one thing. Gordon kept it simple. Storytelling. He told stories with pictures. And that's what I'm doing. You know, still pictures, documentary film, moving pictures.
The project includes the production of a feature-length documentary and a 2-volume commemorative book set, both inspired by Parks' 1950 return to his hometown on assignment for Life magazine. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes, coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Harvard can keep welcoming international students despite efforts by the Trump administration to stop them. Plus, a ceasefire is now in effect as deadly strikes continue in the Israel-Iran conflict. And we have a warm and partly cloudy day today. We'll have what to expect with Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. But first, here's a live look from Elmore Park in Chautauqua, Kansas. Well, topping Nation Watch this morning, Harvard University can continue welcoming international students to its campus despite the Trump administration trying to stop them from doing so. On Monday, a federal judge indefinitely blocked the administration's attempt to stop the university from accepting international students. In the ruling, Judge Allison Burroughs of the U.S. District Court in Massachusetts in Obama and Pointe said the White House was trying to violate the school's constitutional protections. The Trump administration says it wishes to stop the school from bringing in students from other countries for national security purposes, saying Harvard wasn't properly vetting incoming scholars from other countries. The judge also previously indefinitely blocked an attempt to revoke Harvard's student visa program. Well, early this morning, President Donald Trump declared on social media, quote, "This ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it." He was referring to a tentative deal between Israel and Iran. Israeli officials say Iran launched another wave of missiles this morning, causing multiple deaths and injuries in one suburban neighborhood. Iran seemed to indicate afterwards that it would pause strikes. Israel's prime minister this morning announced that it would accept the ceasefire deal to end its 12-day war. Bradley Blackburn has more from New York.
Sirens and smoke trails over Israeli skies this morning after a deadly Iranian missile barrage. Iranian state TV signaled those may be the last of the country's strikes after President Donald Trump announced a, quote, complete and total ceasefire between the two nations on social media last night. According to the president, Iran would cease strikes by around midnight Eastern time Tuesday, while Israel would end strikes at noon Eastern time. Then, by around midnight tonight, President Trump said, quote, the war will be considered ended. The White House says President Trump discussed a deal directly with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, while other top administration officials, including Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, communicated with Iran. Iran's foreign minister initially seemed non-committal to the proposal, posting on X, "There is no agreement," and that a final decision on the cessation of our military operations will be made later, though he followed that up with claims that his country continued its aggression until the last minute, indicating a possible stop in strikes around 4 a.m. local time. Monday, Iran launched counterstrikes targeting a U.S. airbase in Qatar, retaliation for U.S. strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend. President Trump says Iran gave early notice in advance and that there were no deaths or injuries. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Today, members of Congress are set to receive a classified briefing from Trump administration officials on the strikes against Iran and the current situation. Democrats and some Republicans have come out against military involvement against Iran, with lawmakers proposing resolutions meant to limit President Trump's war powers. The House Speaker last night said those resolutions may be a moot point, with a ceasefire now tentatively in place. Well, still to come, new research reveals that excessive screen time can affect teens' brain development and mental health. Plus, Chris Warner returns with another look at your Tuesday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Well, for students at a Rhode Island elementary school, it's a positive finish to their school year. Their project, courtesy of a club that exemplifies something good. Sam Reed has the story.
For the last 2 years at Cumberland Hill Elementary School, a special group of kids meet an hour before the start of the school day.
We meet on Thursdays in the morning.
Guided by volunteer teachers, this isn't a place for early drop-off, but instead, it's a hub for happiness.
It's something to look forward to because it's nice to do stuff for other people.
Which is why all 50 students and staff here call themselves the Kindness Club.
And it's grown in popularity with the kids wanting to give back within the school and also within our town community.
Right now, they're putting their finishing touches on homemade blankets.
This is my first time ever making a blanket.
More than a dozen of them will be donated to Hasbro Children's Hospital in an effort to teach the kids empathy for others their age.
I hope they make them feel really nice and warm.
But in all honesty, it's something they seem to already have a really good grasp on.
It really makes me feel happy and knowing I'm gonna help someone in need. If they're sick or they hurt something, they can have these and feel better.
The labor of love came from the helping hands of everyone here, from the measuring to the sewing.
This has been one of the most anticipated community service projects that we've completed.
There was a lot of layering, cutting and tying. Tasks, though tedious at times, proving positive for all involved.
I like helping people and it makes me feel good about myself.
The giant gesture, not a first for the club, that carries itself on doing something good.
We have made placemats, we have sang at a nursing home.
They've hosted canned food drives, have volunteered in the community, and they're always open for new ideas.
And it makes me feel really happy.
And as this final project comes to its completion, the gradeless effort for all involved, an A+.
My hope is by teaching them at a young age to give back, and the joy that it gives you is important, and I hope that they carry that on through middle school, high school, and into adulthood.
Kindness Club! What a wonderful club. Great to see. Let's head over now to Chris for a quick look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got a pretty nice looking sunrise out there, courtesy some storms that will not impact our area, but are off to our west and north. We do have an opportunity for some pop-up storms later today. Details in your forecast when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 6:21 now on this Tuesday morning, and we've got another hot day lined up for us today, and that continues into our Wednesday as well. We got those upper 80s again by noon. As I've mentioned, our average high is 88, so even though we are above average, it's not significantly so. It could be a lot worse, and honestly, in the past, and looking at some historical data, it has been a lot worse, so it is not awful. It just was a sudden change. We went from a lot of below normal or very close to normal days days through most of May and the early part of this month, and then we suddenly just jumped into summer on the first day of summer. So that's been the adjustment here. Temperatures, though, back to the low 90s tomorrow. The big part is our overnight lows. We should be in the upper 60s, close to 70, and here lately we've been anywhere from 5, 10, 12 degrees above normal overnight, which thankfully has not led to us being 5, 10, or 12 degrees above normal during the day. But we got another hot one for Thursday, cruising back up into the low 90s, and as we head into our Friday, once again, we've got ourselves another hot day as we jump back up into the upper 80s and low 90s. On terms of our rain chances, we'll start to see some today. They're going to be very limited over the next few days, but they at least are there. Future track will start to go mostly clear to partly cloudy. It'll be a blend heading into the afternoon. And then roughly between 2 and 6 p.m., we get an opportunity for an isolated pop-up storm or two. And as we've discussed pop-up storms, again, there's not a specific trigger for them. And so Future Track has a harder time pinpointing them because they just form. That's why they're called pop-up storms. With the heating of the day, a little bit of instability. So even though Future Track painting a better chance east of I-49, we could still get a pop-up storm really anywhere across the area over the next few days. Wednesday, though, Future Track again is picking up on the pop-up storms. That's why those chances are there. But it's picking up on at least a better opportunity for a couple more of them. And that's how it goes. Sometimes we'll get 1 or 2. Sometimes we can get 5 or 6. And as we go into the afternoon again tomorrow, we could get another little round of isolated pop-up storms out there. And again, a reminder, occasionally, not often, but occasionally, they can become low-grade severe. Now, again, they don't last long. They don't usually move much, but just a heads up on that. And of course, if you're doing anything outdoors over the next couple of days, just remember the main thing. When thunder roars, head indoors, because that's really the best way to stay safe. And again, you don't usually have to stop what you're doing for too long because these storms don't last very long, but just make sure you're paying attention. Beautiful sunrise view also from 7th and Rangeline there, of course, with those clouds from storms that are around us but not here with us, and they will not be impacting us. We got near 80 by 8 o'clock this morning. A few clouds out there by 11 and mid 80s. Into the afternoon we go. Pop-up storm chances again between 2 and 6. Temperatures warming into the low 90s, some upper 80s. South wind still a bit breezy, but not as breezy as it has been. Those gusts up to 20. South winds tonight 5 to 10. Storm chances come to an end. Skies will clear out. And we're still, of course, near 80 by 10. And again, that's what's been kind of killing us is we're not getting a big break from the heat overnight. We're still staying very warm and in some cases a bit on the muggy side. Back to low mid 70s once again tonight. Southwest winds tomorrow will be about 5 to 10 miles an hour. Pop-up storm chances through Thursday. A heads up, looking at some of the longer range data, we're getting at least a couple of hints. We might get a couple of late night thunderstorm chances Thursday into early Friday. At this point, again, not looking at anything severe, but we're seeing maybe a slightly better window for some storm chances overnight Thursday into Friday. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. Otherwise, staying hot into the weekend and dry, low 90s, upper 80s, low 90s again next week with a few more storm chances by next Monday and Tuesday. That is a check of your forecast. We're going to toss it over to Lise now with Health Watch.
All right, Chris, thanks. Well, deaths among newborns are on the decline in the U.S. A study published by the Journal of the American Medical Association looked at data over the last few decades and found that the declines are likely due to medical advancements and better care. However, the data also showed infant deaths due to malnutrition have risen 2%. And women who have complications during pregnancy are at a higher risk for a stroke even decades later. A study by UT Health Houston showed that pregnancy functions as a sort of stress test for the body, and common pregnancy complications could be an early warning sign for cardiovascular disease. Up to 1/3 of all pregnancies are affected by complications. Well, we're learning more about how too much screen time can harm the mental health of young people. New research from the University of Pittsburgh found excessive screen time can lead to lack of sleep, which impacts the connections of the brain. Teens who were spending a lot of time on their tablets and phones were found to have weaker connections in the parts of the brain that regulate emotion and control memory and attention. Well, as summer temperatures continue to rise, so does the danger of heat-related illnesses, and some commonly prescribed medications can make your body even more susceptible to the sun. Amanda Gaither has more on which medications don't mix well with the heat.
High temperatures, heat, and humidity can all affect the body, but some medications can pose an added danger.
People are doing their errands, they're overheated, they don't feel well, and they can get really heat exhausted pretty quickly. Meds can have a significant impact.
The CDC says some medications interfere with the body's ability to regulate temperature, making it harder to cool down and increases sun sensitivity to the skin. Some medicine can also make a person more vulnerable to the heat by affecting the body's hydration, says Dr. Jesse Bracamonte with Mayo Clinic.
In some cases, if you're not hydrating in certain meds, it can make you feel lightheaded and dizzy and nauseated. So it's really important to stay hydrated.
The CDC says medications that don't mix well with the heat include anticholinergics, some antidepressants and antipsychotics, antihistamines, beta blockers, diuretics, antibiotics, and antifungals. The heat can also degrade or damage some medications, including insulin, inhalers, and EpiPens. Bracamonte says to make sure they're being stored properly.
You don't want to leave any medications in the heat.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Now, the doctor says you can stay safe by staying hydrated, especially when taking medications that cause dehydration or sun sensitivity. He also says to limit exposure to direct sunlight and wear protective clothing. Now, to look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, we have some tips on what you can do to protect yourself from summer allergies.
And again, got some clouds out there this morning. We've got another hot day ahead of us and maybe a storm or two this afternoon. Look at your forecast coming up.
Plus, Crawford County firefighters launched their biggest fundraiser, the annual fireworks stand.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:31. I'm Elise Snowe.
I'm Chris Warner. It is now Tuesday, June the 24th, and we are coming up on the close of this month, the start of another. We're now technically a little more than halfway through the year of 2025. Wow. That is cruising right by. Our future, though, we don't have flying cars yet, which is the one thing.
No, maybe next year.
Maybe. I'm not saying I'd ever get one, but we don't have them. Those folks at home, we watch the Saturday morning cartoons, the old Looney Tunes and stuff from back in like the 40s and 50s. They predicted flying cars. We don't have any yet. But that's okay. We have social media, and that's almost as good. Right. Let's take a look outside, shall we? Downtown Pittsburgh. Got a few clouds again. We got storms to our west, out to the west of Wichita, and we've got storms to our north. And so what's happening is we have those storms off to our west moving northeast. They're not going to impact us. But there's a little bit of a cycle going on as they lift northeast. We've got storms and clouds to the north around KC, and those clouds are being pushed south, and that's why we have a few clouds out there this morning. MoDOT camera 20th and Rangeline also looking pretty good this morning. Our future track showing us again mostly clear to partly cloudy skies today, and again between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., and that's really going to be the best window over the next couple of days for isolated pop-up storms. Now, right now, future track is saying the better opportunity is east of I-49. That doesn't mean, though, that we can't get one outside of that zone, because as we've discussed with pop-up storms, there's not a specific trigger for them. They're feeding off the heating of the day and the weekend stability that can roll in, and so they really could be anywhere, but Future Track believes the better opportunity is east of I-49 this afternoon. 75 in Joplin right now, 73 in Pittsburgh, and around the region, temperatures are looking like this, the 70s. Take a look, Sedan, Monette, Cassville, down to 71. That's the closest we have been to normal in a while. Our average low is about 67, 68, right around there. And that's what's been kind of killing us, is our overnight lows have been very mild. We're still in low mid 70s out there for most of us. And that's, again, what's been hurting the most, because we're not getting that break from the heat. Your air conditioning isn't getting a break from the heat because it's still warm, still a hint muggy overnight as well. The good news is, at least, even though our overnight lows have been well above average, thankfully our highs have not been. And they won't be today. They'll be hot, but not well above average. Low 80s by 9, upper 80s by noon. Thunderstorm chances, isolated pop-up storm chances really between 2 and 6. Our highs today back in the low 90s, south winds gusting to 20 at times. Our pop-up storm chances do look a little better tomorrow. We'll talk about that and have a look at our weekend forecast here in just a few more minutes. Elise?
All right, Chris, thanks. Well, summer officially started on Friday, and already plenty of 4-staters are dealing with summer allergies. One common summer allergen around here is ragweed, with symptoms ranging from watery eyes to itchy throats. A pharmacist from Alps Pharmacy in Anderson tells us there are ways to find relief.
People do the neti pots or a nasal rinse, and if you're still having symptoms like runny nose, you can do Flonase over the counter. It's a nasal spray to help with that, or there's also Nasacort.
Dr. York also recommends that people with severe allergies use a fabric mask to cover their mouth and nose while outdoors. The Girard Public Library is celebrating summer reading with the return of its Scholastic Book Fair. The event gives families a chance to build their home libraries while supporting the library itself, with a portion of sales going toward new books for the shelves. The fair features a wide variety of options, from board books for toddlers to picture books, chapter books, and even cookbooks for all ages. It's also time to coincide with the library's summer reading program, encouraging kids to stay engaged in literacy while school is out.
Obviously, books are a very, very important part of literacy for all ages, so we tie this in with our summer reading program to allow as many visitors in as possible to add to their own library. And by purchasing through our book fair, it also allows us to purchase additional books for our own shelves here at the library.
The library has hosted the fair nearly every year since 2010, and staff say it's a fun way to share the joy of reading with the community. And the Crawford County Fire District Number 4's annual fireworks stand is now open. Fire Chief Scotty Thomas says this fundraiser is vital for the volunteer fire district, which relies heavily on community support. Funds raised help cover essential equipment and operational costs, which can be challenging to finance.
We have close to almost 20 on our roster currently, and we're all volunteers. And all the money that we do raise for the fireworks, they go in the budget for the firefighters. And we buy cups, hats, anything fire prevention wise, and anything like that, so it helps.
The Crawford County Fire District Number 4 fireworks stand will be open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. through July 5th. You can find the stand at 915 West St. John in Girard. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. JetBlue Airways has announced that it's leaving the Miami International Airport to cut costs. Plus, Krispy Kreme has released its new Independence Day collection. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from Elmore Park in Chautauqua, Kansas. In Consumer Watch this morning, most of us take vacations to relax and escape from daily life, but some travelers look for more than a break. They're seeking a breakthrough. Wendy Gillette visited a couple resorts offering programs intended to transform the lives of their guests.
New Yorker Ilma Tiki recently opened the door to transformation at Euphoria Retreat in southern Greece, a few hours from Athens.
I think I found some of the things I never knew about myself.
Euphoria offers an emotional harmony program designed by the founder, who underwent her own transformation before launching the retreat.
From banking to cancer to burnout. So it was my way of giving back to people and sharing what I've learned through all these years of trying to rebuild my health and also rebalance myself. And I had some new experiences.
Helping guests regain emotional balance can come through sound healing, therapy magnets, and high-tech and traditional treatments in the spa, which features this indoor pool with underwater sounds of whales and dolphins.
There have been several moments where I was really surprised by myself.
Transformation is also a big part of the programs here at Sensei Lanai in Hawaii, a Four Seasons resort. A personalized stay can include physical, mental, and emotional components. It begins with an assessment around 3 pillars: move, nourish, and rest. Guests at the resort, one of those where we stayed for a special rate, often have differing goals.
To improve their health, to improve their sleep, to find ways to better manage their stress.
That can mean refining exercise techniques, trying out new treatments such as aquatic body work, and exploring eating habits.
The greatest souvenir that a guest can take away from Sensei is not a t-shirt or a photo. It's the ability to continue what they've learned here at home.
Making personal growth the most unforgettable trip of all. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Lanai.
A popular weight loss medication, Wegovy, will no longer be available on the Hims & Hers websites. Drug maker Novo Nordisk is ending its partnership with the sites after claiming the telehealth company sells knockoff versions of the drug, which put patient safety at risk. Hims & Hers shares plunged around 30% Monday following the announcement. And JetBlue Airways is pulling out of Miami International Airport. It comes as the budget airline moves to cut costs by removing less profitable routes. Miami Airport officials say JetBlue's last flight there will be on September 3rd, though the carrier will continue to operate out of nearby Palm Beach International and Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International airports. And Krispy Kreme has released a taste of Independence Day just over a week before July 4th. Customers can stop by the chain to get one or all three of the new Star, Stripes, and Sweetness donut collection. Anyone who wears red, white, and blue on July 4th to participating locations can also get one free original glazed donut. Also, school is out for summer, and while it means fun in the sun for kids, it can also be expensive for parents as they juggle childcare needs. Now, data shows that costs skyrocket for parents during the summer. Jen Sullivan looks at how much parents spend and ways to help you save.
Year-round childcare costs in the last 5 years have gone up 29%, according to a recent survey from Childcare Aware of America. Last year, the average price of childcare was more than $13,000.
Parents are having to juggle their kids being out of school, and now they're not in just after-school care. They're needing care all day long.
And summers can be particularly expensive for parents. Beth Klung-Piable works at Savings.com. She's also a mom and knows firsthand how challenging the summer months can be.
It takes a lot of planning, and if you can do that in advance, then it's really helpful.
Savings.com recently conducted a survey and found childcare costs increase over 300% in the summer months for a typical family.
These parents told us that they set aside all year long, so a little bit out of every check goes toward those increased expenses in the summer.
There are a few ways parents can save. Lean on family and friends for help. Many camps offer scholarships. Most public libraries offer free drop-off programs. And check out the programs at your local YMCA. And if you're looking for free activities, most public parks have free splash pads, and some museums offer free days.
Kind of plan around, these are the free events that we're going to load our summer up with, and we're going to have a great time, but it's not going to break the bank.
And if you're looking to do a family trip, Klung-Piable says hotels and airfare tend to be cheaper towards the end of August. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
That's a look at Consumer Watch this morning. Here's Chris with a quick look at your forecast.
Yeah, quick look at the MoDOT camera. 20th and Rangeline in Joplin. Got a few clouds out there on what is going to be another toasty day in the 4 states. We'll have a full look at your forecast and celebrate birthdays and anniversaries right after this. All right, time for some Tuesday birthdays in the 4 states, and we're beginning in Orinoco with Lane Stewart celebrating birthday number 2 today. Very happy birthday to you, Lane. Says happy birthday from Honey and Poppy.
And in Chitopa, happy 3rd birthday to Carson Connard.
And our neighbor in Crestline, Carol Phelps, celebrating birthday number 83 today. Says happy birthday from the Crestline girls.
And a happy 30th anniversary to Seth and Kimberly Stewart in Weir.
And I see here it looks like Lane may have been a special present for that anniversary. Well, either way, a very happy birthday and anniversary to the Stewarts there. We continue our list with Jerry Harris in Lamar, celebrating birthday number 65. Happy birthday, Jerry.
And in Columbus, a happy 80th birthday to Louise Hart.
All right, another great list of birthdays and anniversaries. And of course, if you would like to celebrate with us, there's something simple you need to do, and Elise knows what that is.
Yes, go ahead and submit your birthdays and anniversaries to birthdays@koamnewsnow.com. Be sure to include those wonderful photos and messages to, of course, meet the deadline that you see there at the bottom of your screen, and to also please include the date of your celebration when submitting as well.
Very important information indeed. And we're going to start quickly with a look outside downtown Pittsburgh. See, we got those clouds with that sunrise, and that is is because what we've got is storms off to our west, and they're actually now moving northwest of Wichita, pushing to the northeast. There are storms up in southern Iowa, and then circling around all of that, we have clouds coming back down to the south. That's why we've got a few clouds out there this morning. Now, the storms that are ongoing now, not expected to impact us at all, but we do have some pop-up storm chances a little later today. MoDOT camera, 28th and Rangeline, looking pretty good this morning as well. Temperatures are on the hot side again, but a reminder, that's our average high, about 88. So our temperatures really haven't been that greatly above normal. We're talking 4 or 5 degrees at most, and so yeah, it's been above average, but not significantly so. Where it's been above average the most significantly is in our overnight lows. We should be in the upper 60s to near 70, and here lately we've been anywhere from 5, 10, upwards of 12 degrees above average for our overnight lows, which means we're not getting much relief from the heat. But thankfully, though, that's not translating to the daytime hours, leading our highs to be 5, 10, 12 degrees above normal, because then that would make it considerably more miserable outside and more dangerous for those susceptible populations as well. In fact, a couple of nights ago, Joplin's low was just a couple of degrees off of 80. And so your air conditioning also not getting a break. So I know it's hard to conserve, but do what you can so you don't get hit with that $200, $300 electric bill from your AC having to work so hard. It's hard to get that break, but do what you can if you can. All right, Wednesday, by the way, hot. Thursday, also hot, back in the low 90s out there. We're still having those mild overnights. We're seeing slight improvements here and there, but not significant improvements. And you can see how warm we start our day on Friday. And by Friday afternoon and evening, another day into the upper 80s and low 90s. Throughout the day today, mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. And by 2 o'clock, and that's going to be the same window today, tomorrow, and Thursday, because that's where these things are going to feed off that daytime heating. Between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m., an opportunity for an isolated pop-up storm or two. Now, right now, the future track is showing slightly better chances, as you can see, east of I-49. That's not a guarantee that they'll stay east of I-49 because, as we've talked about, pop-up storms, there's not a specific trigger for them. They feed off the daytime heating and some of the instability that builds in, so they could be anywhere. That's why Future Track also has a hard time picking up on them as well, just because there's not a trigger. There's not a cold front. There's not an upper-level disturbance. There's not something feeding the storms directly. It's just them showing up because it got hot outside. That will repeat again for our Tuesday and for our our Wednesday and for our Thursday. But you see, for Wednesday, Future Track does think we might get more than just a couple of pop-up storms. Not a lot still, but maybe more than 1 or 2. And a reminder, while it doesn't happen all the time, occasionally they can be strong to low-grade severe. So the best thing to remember this week if you're working outside is just when thunder roars, head indoors and let the storm do its thing, and then you can head back out again. And for Thursday, another round of pop-up storms, but it stops pretty early, but you can see we're getting some hints that we could get a few organized thunderstorms that might try and roll in late Thursday into early Friday. We're just getting hints at it. It's not anything concrete yet, but just a heads up, maybe we get a little more relief with some additional rain chances and hopefully a little cooler temperatures overnight. Mild today, upper 80s by 8 o'clock, upper 70s, thank goodness, not upper 80s, low near 80 for 8 a.m., mid 80s by 11 o'clock this morning. Well, I've now looked at your forecast and the news you need to know here in just a moment. And when we switch over to Fox 14 at 7 a.m., or of course, if you're streaming with us here on KOAM Plus, you don't have to do anything. And we're going to tell you, or rather, we're going to have a few tips on how to keep yourself cool and safe as the summer heat begins to take over.
And here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A morning crash in Crawford County claims the life of a Girard man Monday morning. It happened just after 7 at the intersection of Highway US 69 and 160 on the north edge of Frontenac. Authorities say an eastbound pickup truck ran a red light and struck a car that was traveling south, killing 21-year-old Matthew Jeffrey. The 16-year-old boy who drove the pickup had no apparent injuries. And Jacob Lee Oakes, a former school counselor in Neosho, pleads guilty to a child sex crime. Yesterday, Jacob Lee Oakes changed his plea to guilty in the second-degree statutory rape case. The Newton County prosecutor says Oakes admitted to having sexual intercourse with a minor under the age of 17. He's scheduled to be sentenced on August 25th. And Pittsburgh State's new president, Dr. Thomas Newsom, shares his vision to tackle enrollment challenges and support for both students in the community. Dr. Thomas Newsom discussed some of his philosophies and priorities during a public introduction yesterday afternoon. Newsom, who is currently the president of Southeastern Oklahoma State University, was named as the new Pitt State president last week. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And we could have again an isolated pop-up storm or two between 2 and 6. Most of us dry, hot, mostly clear to partly cloudy, low 90s, south winds gusting upwards of 20. Skies will clear out later this evening, still very mild, near 80 by 10. Low to mid 70s tonight, south breeze 5 to 10. Southwest winds tomorrow 5 to 10. Pop-up storm chances again tomorrow and Thursday between 2 and 6. Getting some hints of maybe some late night storms Thursday into Friday. Just some hints, nothing concrete. We'll keep an eye on it. Otherwise, still hot, low 90s. More storm chances next Monday and Tuesday.
All right. Well, coming up today at noon, we're making garlic steamed clams in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOM with CBS Mornings. Triple-digit temperatures are impacting hundreds of millions across the country. Coming up, see how people are staying cool and what one airline is doing to make traveling in this excessive heat more bearable.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. This morning, Butch Rife from the Southeast Kansas Ducks Unlimited joins us in the studio to talk about the annual SEK Firearm Frenzy.
And Charlene Patton back in the studio with another incredibly healthy recipe. However, it's going to wrap things up for us for now. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you today at noon.